Hey everyone, my name is Angela Gordon. I'm a single mom, educator, and therapist who's just been talking about my journey into debt and then out over the course of the last 20 years of my adult life and what that looked like. So, I do have another video, which, if you go back and search, you'll see it just talks about my journey to getting into debt and getting out. Well, today I thought I'd talk to you a little bit more about my profession and how it got me to where I am today and how my profession plays into my relationship with money. So, my primary profession is an educator, and educator meaning currently I'm a school administrator. So, I am the diversity director, well, the director of equity and inclusion. That's my official title at a private school in central Pennsylvania. I've been doing that for, I just finished my second school year doing that. Previously, I was in the public school system teaching, classroom teaching Spanish at the secondary level, so middle and high school, for 15 years. I went and pursued a principal's license to be a school administrator and just kind of landed here at this school. So I transitioned out of the classroom more into being in like a leadership administrator role, but I do still do some teaching. I do some counseling, some advising, some other things within the school. So it's been a transition, but it's been an interesting one. How I got here. So I, high school, went to private school growing up. I can talk about that in another video because I think I will when it comes to like what I saw with money when it came to my parents growing up. So I'll talk about that in another video. But went to private school and then went directly from high school into college, and I went to a 4 year liberal arts institution, also in central Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Philadelphia, so school was about 2.5 hour drive from door to door. Uh, and when I went into college, the college was pretty expensive. I mean, it was on the pricey side. Liberal arts institutions usually are private and do cost a little bit more than the public institution. But it felt like a good choice for me at the time. I wasn't thinking about how to pay for it because my parents were just like, you want to go to college, you can take out a loan, you can get debt. Everybody does it. So grew up in that generation of parents who were like, we don't know how we pay for things, we just use credit. And that's what I did. I went to school. Though I got some scholarships, I got some grants. I still had about $25,000 over the course of the 4 years, maybe 30 grand over the course of the 4 years that I had to figure out how to come up with out of pocket, which wasn't a lot, right? So we're talking 7,500 a year. I remember my dad paying a little bit of money in the beginning towards that. So I think it came down to about 25 over the course of 4 years. Not a lot at all, right? But I just was so not smart with money in my 20s. Even though when I came out of college, I started right away in the teaching field. I started as a classroom teacher in a public school, so I was getting benefits. I had a pretty decent salary at the time, but I did not want to stay home and save even more money. I lived in an apartment for a year, then went and bought a house in 2008, well, 2007, right before the housing market flipped upside down on its head. Yeah, I had no business buying anything at that age. So I was upside down because of that right away. Then I had like a car loan. I remember my car I was driving went, and I just didn't know how to get another car. And like I didn't have direction. My parents were again just like, "Oh, go get credit, 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 credit." Like they screamed that at me. So while I knew in the back of my mind, "Oh, I'm gonna have to pay this back," yeah, it just catches up with you. So I had student loans. I had cars. I also decided to go back to grad school so I can increase my salary, which is something that happened in my school district. So for every 15 credits you got, you went up on the salary scale, which was great. I also got some tuition assistance from my school district. Great to get a master's degree, but I just wasn't smart with money. Like I still took out a student loan and then just didn't pay it back. Like I used part of the money to go travel, while using the tuition remission to go towards my actual tuition, but using other money. I just wasn't smart with the money, basically. I remember I traveled abroad. Like I said, I got a new car. I was just charging things for my house, and then I was upside down on my mortgage just because of the way that I was managing my money. It was really, really just not smart. So I tried to dig myself out of a hole, kept paying on my student loan, tried to pay off some credit cards I had gotten into in my 20s, little by little. But then I hit 30 and my baby was born. So I had my son right at the beginning of my 20s. And so then I had all his expenses, baby expenses. His father and I split. So, I didn't have that support. And then it took a little while for child support to kick in. And he and I had never been on the same page anyway about finances. So it was like this huge struggle when it came to that. So just shortly after that, I'm like, okay, well, I've split up from him. I had to go get a new place. I lived with my parents for a while to save up. And then, that's always expensive, just trying to get into a situation where you're back um, on your feet after having kind of a setback when it comes to finances and relationship. So I remember I was living with him for a little bit. Now I still had my house, but I had tenants in it. But once he and I split, I had to figure out what to do. And that cost money to get me restarted in an apartment. I didn't kick my tenants out right away, so I couldn't go back there. Um, and then shortly after, I ended up with stage 1 cervical cancer. So while I had insurance because I was still teaching all that time, um, I still had to pay like a couple thousand in medical. So that was a struggle. So I ended up there. And I looked up and was like, yo, I'm doing all of this. I have this great career. I have this kid. I have this house. I have all these things going on, but I'm not making progress. And that's where the bankruptcy came in. So I filed Chapter 7, got myself out of that hole, sold my house, got myself out of another hole, and then the PSLF waiver, the teacher forgiveness waiver, actually got me out of the last hole. So that's where I sit today. Now, when it comes to my career and my job currently, that has really helped me stay afloat because actually, I'll go back. My job during COVID, when I was on sabbatical, actually, when COVID hit. So I was like halfway working, halfway not working. I had a part time teaching job in the evenings. And that job actually let me go. So I was able to file unemployment from that and ended up getting like 7 grand in unemployment because of being furloughed from that job, laid off from that job. So that was a blessing. And then I moved into this role, and this role was great because I work for a K-12 school now, so preschool through 12 actually school, and my son is going into third grade. So not only do I work at the school, but he also attends. And what's great about that is it's a small private school. We literally live right next door to school, y'all. Like I could show you, throw a stone and hit the school building, which is, a pro and a con. But what's a pro about it is I don't drive to work. He and I both walk across the lawn every day, 30 seconds, we're in the school door. And he loves school. And I have a really decent salary. And I also have a discounted rent living in this house because it's right next door to school because the school owns my house. So, so like we live in this really decent sized house. You guys can probably see behind me is my kitchen. This is my family room alone. And then I have a dining room. Maybe I'll take you on a house tour one day. But I'm saying that to say that we have saved so much because the rent is so much lower because I do work at school. They cut me a break. So there's been so many benefits to that. Working for an employer that has housing, who also pays a generous salary. Oh, and my son's tuition is at a discounted rate because he goes to school there. Like what I pay a year for him being a faculty member is what I would pay just for childcare at before and after school in the public school system. So we're very blessed in that regard. So yeah, that's just a little bit about how I've made my money work for me as an adult. Now, I will say this really quickly. I am considering making some changes and going into therapy full time. So I have some meetings lined up to talk about that, and I have to see where the numbers fall, especially since I do have so many perks going on right now. But being out of debt, I feel a little bit more comfortable kind of looking into that at this point. So I might be updating you about that going forward very soon. Um, Let me tell you this though. If you have questions just about my track, my trajectory, how I got here, how maybe you can do some of the same things, let me know in the comments below because I am more than willing to help you like figure out how you can make your career and your personal life like kind of mesh to work for you. We can talk about those kinds of ideas, especially if you're interested in going into education. So hit me up, let me know below. Again, I'm Angela, and I thank you for watching. And yeah, let me know. I'll see you soon with another topic to talk about. Bye.